We're here to democratize really high quality education.
Do you feel like dropping out is overrated or underrated?
I think there is a hype. We provide lots of good value to the teachers as well as to this. In terms of just general population, it's very surprising how little people know about it.
Startup founders always move either to New York or San Francisco.
Yes.
And it is why I started this podcast to create this kind of community and to kind of improve the Chicago and in general Midwest scene. Hey Leland, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Can you tell for listeners who don't know anything about the grassroots, how did it started and what are you solving?
Sure. So at the beginning, we have three co-founders, and then all of us we were interested in education as a space in general. So I was interested. I just came out of my previous startup, and then my COO, he was a first generation college student, as well as trying to do a previous edtech startup as well. So we were all in the space, and then our CTO was with him before as well. So we entered saying we want to do education, and we want to do with AI. Pretty much that was our scope. Yes. So with that scope in mind, we try to understand one is where would education be in the future? Because I guess that's the point of a startup, right? You want to
Yeah.
be visionary, you want to see where it's going to be in the future. So you want to meet it, you want to build towards something that's in the future and not now, but then you also have to make sure that you're solving a pain point that's right now. And so pretty much what we found is after doing a bunch of ideation and figuring stuff out, we saw that there was a bunch of AI tutors online. They call themselves AI tutors. But at the end of the day, what we saw is it was kind of like a chatbot. It was just like a back and forth ask me anything chatbot. Maybe it could take some notes for you or like generate problems. But we didn't see how that was that much different from ChatGPT. And so we thought that the initial pain point of having someone to be able to personally tutor you, that's an entire experience in itself. It's something that we see is so important that people are willing to pay $50, $100 an hour for,
Right.
sometimes for very good human tutoring. So we looked at that point, we said, if we can emulate that, if we can copy that as much as possible with AI, then we're going to solve a big problem. And so that was the preliminary thought process behind how we should start this.
What is the main difference? Because you put it that all these AI tutors kind of looks like AI chatbots. What makes grassroots different from just studying with AI, with ChatGPT, for instance?
Yeah. I think to be honest, we're figuring out a lot of the finer details, but generally, like, there's two things I guess you can think about. One is the user experience.
Right.
So what that can be is as simple as the interface that you're interacting it with. So when you're talking with a human being, you're probably talking through voice, and then you're hearing stuff back, and you want to talk again, right?
Yeah.
So something as simple as that, and then also maybe you don't want to look at just a wall of text. Maybe if you're doing a math problem, you want to see the small equations being drawn, you want to be able to draw them yourselves, have a diagram, have an image. And so that's another part, right? So you're looking at something like a whiteboard, you're talking naturally, something as simple as that. And that can even be quite complicated actually to build out, it turns out. And then number two would be, I would say, the proactivity, or like it would just be like how well you teach, but like that's hard to define. And so what we think is like a really easy way to think about that is a teacher comes in saying, I'm going to teach you this today. I have an entire course planned. We'll go through and adjust as we go, but I know I'm going to teach you this today. Whereas when you're asking ChatGPT, it has none of that. It has no pre-planned course material. It doesn't have like a curated set of how I'm going to teach you what I'm going to teach you this.
Right.
So I think those are probably like two of the biggest differentiators.
Gotcha. What was the moment when you decided to just like trigger and you decided I'm going to build this?
I don't even know if there was it wasn't like 100% commitment in the beginning. We were like, this is a idea that we think we can try out.
Okay.
And I think after my first startup until now, I've always been like I've become more and more conscious towards ideas because ideas can sound absolutely excellent when you're thinking about them. And then when you bring them in front of real people or users, then whether or not they care about it, I think it's really hard to tell. And so I think it's been more of a gradual process to believe more and more in the direction, at least that we're heading, but then we're figuring out more and more how much that we've gotten wrong about the details, and we're trying to fix those.
Coach, I heard a lot from Ian because I watch a lot of Y Combinator like podcasts, different YouTube videos, and the truth is that they mention a lot that a lot of projects and even startups started as just like side kind of things, and
Mm.
then it grew into something more and more, and then you kind of see the direction, and it always changed in some way, but you still saw the star, and you go into this direction, but it's always changing in that way. So I think that is true. You know, when you build something, it always changing and you experiment with one thing, try another. And actually, the product which you started first can be totally different from when you ended up.
Yeah, I think there's different advice from depending on who you talk to, and then different success stories. I guess it works for different people. Generally, I guess the base minimum is with your team. Like your team is your startup, and so as long as you have the same team, no matter what idea you're going, you're still like roughly within the same idea, and then teams have pivoted between industries a lot. For us, that wasn't the case. For us, we were like, we're going to be in education no matter what, and that's the entire purpose of this team. And so I think we have a really nice North Star, at least to look at, that
Mhm.
we're here to democratize or at least, make scalable, really high quality education. And so
Okay,
however that's going to look like, at least that's our primary goal about the effect that we want to have. But then how the product looks like, as you said, who knows?
gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the grassroots later. I think for someone who watches this podcast, it might be interesting to hear about your past.
Mm.
Can you tell me why you chose Northwestern University and when the idea of dropping out first come out?
Sure. Yeah. So for some background, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I went to Northwestern University, but actually before that, I went to UCLA. There wasn't too much backstory behind that. I think it was just the best university that I got into at the time.
That's true.
But I will say that's I don't think I think university matters in the fact that you're surrounded by that type of people. I don't think classes matter as much anymore, depending if you're like going into medicine, well then maybe it matters, right? The actual academics. But if you're thinking about doing a startup, I don't think it matters that much the university you're going with, rather the people that you surround yourself with. And so the people at your university is probably the most direct because that's going to be the sort of scene and the influence on what you do. And so at UCLA, at least the group that I was surrounded with, or at least that I was able to talk a lot with, were people that were just trying to recruit into IB or consulting, or do like try to get into a big tech company. That was kind of like the goal of everyone, like almost everyone. I don't think that's actually everyone at UCLA. I think UCLA does have a good startup scene, but at least the people that I was with and a part of was all going towards that, and that just was not what I wanted to do. And so I decided to apply for transfer to Northwestern. Northwestern has a much more, I think, easily accessible startup scene and culture.
What do you mean by it's accessible?
Yeah. So I think in terms of UCLA, how that school worked
Mhm.
was you had to get admitted into a lot of different clubs, and some clubs they had like admittance rates of like 1% or whatever the heck.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a very semi-competitive school, and so without that, it was very hard to actually learn about different things. You were kind of stuck within one niche. Northwestern, there's a lot less people, a lot more resources, just because I think like public versus private as well. And so for Northwestern, it had it more easily accessible. So they had something called the Garage, which a lot of people can
Yeah, I
apply
heard
for.
about the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I won't say too much about it, but I will say that the benefits is it inspires a lot of people to try and do startups. So I think like if you look at the percentage of people that do startups in Northwestern versus UCLA, I'm sure it's much higher in Northwestern. But I
Interesting. No,
there's yeah
I agree. You know, when you just give more resources to people,
yeah
more people start to building something, and when people who building something surround you, you start building too,
right
and it's kind of
exactly
this infinity moment.
yeah
Actually, I have similar experience because I was studying in Czech Republic for
mm,
2 years in the college, and then I transfer here
oh
to
nice
US. And the main reason for me was also because I just wanted to change kind of this environment from people who want just to. I was really looking for people who are more motivated and who want to achieve more.
yeah.
And it was basically one of the biggest reason why I moved to US to studying. And yeah, did it when you drop out from Northwestern University? Wasn't you scared?
I think short answer is probably no because the degree I don't think gives you as much anymore. I mean, from what I've seen. So I think if I were to genuinely look for a job, which please I don't want to, but if I were to genuinely look for a job, I think many people wouldn't care that I dropped out of university or like didn't get a degree. I think people would care the fact that I have like this many years of startup experience and I did like such and such within my experience. So I think the experience of doing startup pays out for itself if you want to get a job anyway down the line. That's at least my logic. And then also universities are nice, at least in the US. I don't know compared to other countries, but you can get back into them if you really
Oh,
need to.
really?
Yeah. So I had a friend who actually dropped out for 3 years and he applied again to Northwestern and then got readmitted and then finished his degree.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
So
that. No.
yeah.
Do you feel like dropping out is overrated or underrated? Because there is some like kind of, at least I feel like in startup industry, this kind of trend.
Yes. Yes.
Dropping.
I think there is a hype around dropping out. Like people are like, "Wow, I really respect you for dropping out," and like people give it some. I think I think dropping out is a decision that you have to be fully conscious of making, that you understand the consequences and the pros and cons of before doing it. But then I don't think it's a decision that you should shy away from if it is the right decision for you. I just hope that people don't randomly drop out just because they're like, I want to do something they have no plan beforehand. That's probably not the best. But no, I do feel like if you're able to drop out, and it is good for you, then I think why not? Yeah. I honestly don't think that university degrees matter that much anymore.
I got you. I like your response though. Can we slightly change the topic? Can we talk about Spaceland?
Hmm.
Can you take for viewers who don't know anything about your previous startup,
Yeah.
what was this about and what you solved with this startup?
Yeah. Yeah. So as with any first startup experience, it was not the best. I didn't do too well in it. We were so I had co-founders who were already in the space of it was smart. It was like smart city.
All right.
So smart city is like you do technology, generally like what we call smart technology. What that means is it just collects data and then you can send it back and you can control things and make decisions on city infrastructure. So bridges, buildings, pipelines, that sort of stuff. And so I think the scale of what we're doing was attractive, but I think like long story short, it's just that we were creating a software technology to where the you had to have the sufficient hardware for the software to come in, and there just was not enough hardware, not nearly so in the world yet. So our market was too small.
Mm,
So I worked on it for quite a long time, but then part of it was like in school as well, and so I wouldn't call it like fully working on it. But I think like that was the primary reason why it didn't do too well.
for sure. I have another picture of all of you guys. I think it was
Oh
like
wow, yeah,
it is our team, right?
yeah,
Well, then
that was some time ago. Yeah.
put it for viewers so they can see it. I think like selling to the cities is like a really hard mode. How did you get your first yes?
Yeah, so one of our co-founders, they had connections already within cities. The other way to do it would be to just attend like conferences,
Mm,
or you could cold outreach. I don't know if that ever worked for us really, but yes, like I think either that. There was also what I heard is you can hire consultants that do that for you, but that's a lot of money as well. And so I think either of the two ways, it is a very long and slow sales cycle. You pretty much try and catch on to a couple people and just stick with them forever. I don't ever want to do it again. I'm gonna be honest. So
oh, when like cities started to take you seriously first because you had some partners
yeah,
with cities,
yeah.
so you it's kind of it wasn't that bad. When did actually you had this feelings that you now you take people take you seriously like with that startup?
Uh, I think in such an industry where most people are relatively older, it's interesting to have a young person in the room. Again, with the respect or like taking me seriously, I think that's very valid. I guess most of it was just one, the technology was very cool, so they at least were interested in that, and then two was I knew what I was talking about at least, so I can understand what they were saying. I can empathize with their problems. I can give my sort of opinion on things, and so I think that probably helped.
What was the hardest skills to develop during the process when you was doing all the stuff with Spaceland?
Yeah, I think so. I come from a technical background, so I can code.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how well, but at least I can build things. But probably just learning how to sell was harder. Obviously, selling to cities was the hardest, but being able to understand because there's not many ways to teach you. Or at least there's not many resources, I don't think. And so you have to kind of learn from scratch and make the mistakes. And then when you make the mistake, not many people tell you that you made mistakes, right?
That's
You,
true,
everyone kind of smiles. They say it was great meeting you.
especially in America.
Exactly. Yeah. Like people are really nice about it. You have no clue, but maybe you just made like the biggest blunder. And so I think that's probably like learning how to read the sort of in between the lines of what they're saying and et cetera, and then trying to reflect and improve that. That was probably the hardest at the beginning.
For sure. So, like, even talking about Spaceland, what people don't know, like, it was your previous startup, right? So you
Yeah.
left it. But there's like few interesting facts. Like, you drop out from Northwestern to build Spaceland. You
Mm.
win first place in Northwestern Innovation Hub, and then, as you wrote, you even achieve 130K in revenue. So, I mean, that's good achievement. Why did you left?
Well, I did work on it for a decent while. I don't know if 130K is good for that amount of time. But I think so. There's many different reasons.
You
I
mentioned that the market was too small,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
was
yeah.
it like the main reason why you left?
I think it was a big reason for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, like it's you can only grow so much, and there wasn't that much potential. That really the infrastructure needed to be maybe like 30, 40 years in the future
Oh
before it's
wow.
be. So I think it was definitely a great decision to do that. You can also change the direction of the company, but I guess the people that I was with, I'll just say that maybe it wasn't that much of a match. At the
Mhm.
very beginning, you sort of get excited about talking about your idea and then just seeing who else is willing to work on it with you,
Of
which
course, you
is
probably
which
only
is
see only benefits.
yeah, yeah, which is not a good strategy. I think a good strategy is always try to work with people that you have already known for a long time, that you can trust them, you understand their goals and motivations. And so that was also a mistake that our team was sort of put together haphazardly and it wasn't that much of a fit. I think team was also possibly the primary reason, I would say even because at the end of the day, the idea can change, the product can change, but the people is what defines a startup, I think. And so that was probably also a big
And
reason.
then there was this like moment when you say, okay, I think I should left this right now.
It is really hard to leave something that you've been working on for so long, especially if it was your first. As you feel like you've put in like everything. Yeah, at least at that point in time, you're like, I put in everything.
Yeah, you put
The
you went all in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This means like everything to me. Looking back now, like really, it's not that big of a deal because you can always make something else. You can always post to other people. But yeah, I think it was I never fully seriously considered the idea of leaving
Hmm.
um, before there was like a turning point within the company. I won't go too much into it, but like I thought about it and I was like, um, it's probably the best for everyone. And then I told them on the same day. I was like, I think I might want to leave.
What
Yeah.
what was the hardest conversation like when you decided you should leave?
I don't know if I want to say too much about that. I guess leaving in general, the fact that you've worked with someone, like worked with people so long, you've at least made the commitment to say, I'm gonna try and make this work out for the times that you've put in, and that was probably hard. Yeah.
Totally understand. Totally understand. And can you tell me? Are this project currently expressed and currently working right now, or is it they ended?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I
Gotcha,
don't know.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, let's move.
Yeah,
No, I mean, fair enough,
yeah.
fair enough. I'll just.
You did your research.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
think in our pair questions, right, we can come back to grassroots.
Mm,
Can you tell me what you mentioned that you have technical background, right?
mhm.
But what's your role in your startup day to day?
Yeah, so I'm our CEO. And so we have an excellent CTO that codes much better than I do. And so I think like they constantly tell me, please do not touch certain areas of code. I don't want you to mess it up. Like, okay, yes. But yeah, I'm technical to an extent. So like for example, I can design things like the website I made. And so I guess like the role, generally speaking, is yes, the CEO is sort of the visionary, but then what that involves from a day to day at a very early stage startup might just be you kind of do a lot of the customer, the selling, as well as also the building of things that kind of relate to that. So like the website, the front end, the UI are things that I've touched and code in the past. And so at this moment in time, our product just recently released, so you can check it out at grassroot.academy.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the link in the
Yes,
bio,
yes,
guys. So
that'll be
you
awesome.
should check out.
Yeah, but yeah. Since we just recently released, my role has shifted less of building stuff and more towards trying to outreach and then find partnerships, get our name to be known out there. Yeah.
Got you. You also went to Inshale High School
Yes.
to educate students about AI.
Yeah.
What is like the main motivation behind it?
Yeah, so I went to a couple schools already. So I went to Hinsdale Central, South, Naperville Central, um, Corliss High School, one other I forgot. But yeah, so I've been to a couple. I think for us it was more like at the beginning we were trying to find out different ways to reach high schoolers in a non-creepy way, pretty much, because you can't just randomly cold outreach to high schoolers. So talking at high schoolers seemed to be like one of the ways that we figured out to be really good is that we provide lots of good value to the teachers as well as to the students as well. And actually talking to a lot of high schoolers, I think in our current startup world, we're surrounded by like AI this and whatever. Like this is the world we live in. But in terms of just general population, it's very surprising how little people know about it. And so like as from my experience, like people have only heard of ChatGPT versus like they've rarely ever heard of any other models. And they don't use ChatGPT on a daily basis, and that might be because teachers, go against it, or maybe they feel like they don't need it at the moment, which I think is definitely not good. I think education should evolve, hopefully as fast as the rest of the world is evolving. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And so I think I provide great value by doing so. And then by meeting these high schoolers, I can then learn what their primary goals and motivations are, what they want to learn, how do they want to learn it. And so it was a lot of good market research and exposure to high schoolers on my side.
Interesting. I really like it. Actually, when you live in this kind of bubble, you always think that everyone heard about AI because you always surrounded by
Yes.
all those
Yeah.
things. And yeah, I think if I would go to my like not my parents, but like to some of the other parents, they would probably don't know. And a lot of like older people, I think relatively small percentage know at least anything about AI.
Yeah, I think the older generation is one thing. It can come naturally to them through work,
Right.
if they're still working. I like the reason why we did an education company is we think that like it's so important for younger people to
Mm,
do so because there's so much more on the line for them,
right.
right? Because they're at the moment in time where they're trying to choose their career, like trying to choose what to study and then choose what career they want to go to, whether or not it's high schoolers or college students or even like early career professionals trying to like switch between careers. And so like this is a pivotal moment in life for them. And if they don't know what's going on in the world, if they're not receiving like the right education about learning actually important topics, I think that's really worrying. And so like that's why like we generally believe that um, what we're doing is important.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I like it. I really like this. Talking with users, I think it is one of the most important thing which you can do as a CEO,
Yeah.
and one of the biggest mistake for startups who don't make this, you
Yeah,
know.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Let's talk about your long-term goals with Grassroot. When was this moment when you realized, oh, I see this that it can actually grow long term? Did you have like moment like this, or because you, as you mentioned, you only recently launched?
Yeah.
I think like this month, right?
Yeah. The last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. And what do you think about it? Did you test it already, or do you plan to test it? Did you save maybe all the students to some database to then maybe reach them, or do you plan to show this product in the next kind of educational event with next high schools?
So the original question was, when did I think this could scale?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I came into it like we came into building this project saying we want to build something that scales. Now, if the question is like, are we confident that it scales really well at this point and like many people want it? I think the obvious answer is no. We do not know for sure because we're not at that stage yet. But yeah, so like by nature, what we're trying to build as like an AI technology that can become like a human tutor. I think it scales by nature as long as it works. Like as long as it hits all the pain points and that people are like, this is something that I'm willing to spend money on my life for because I get so much more value in return. As long as we can achieve that, then yes, I think that scales. We're definitely trying to figure out like, okay, have we reached that point yet? So uh, in terms of like testing out, we have done lots of internal testing as well as with close by people that we've been talking with, and they've all thought that the product does really well. But the question of this is a really nice product versus this is good enough for me to actually pay money for, I think that's a different question. And so we've gotten great feedback within our first launch, and people are generally have said, okay, as long as like one or two of these missing things are like fixed, like we think this is more than valuable enough for us to purchase.
Do you have a plan how to scale in the future?
In terms of go to market or in terms of
You're like getting
product?
more customers.
Yeah. I think so. We're a direct to consumer product technically. What we figured out is that in the beginning, probably like institutions or like parents are probably our buyers. And so that might be more um, personal outreach sort of, and then yeah, it's more like B2B sales essentially. But then in terms of general scaling, I think most direct to consumers use social media.
Yeah,
Um,
social media are huge now.
yeah, yeah. So I think it'll probably be the same for us. I think that's really just the best way to scale across consumers. It's just lots of social media.
Social media, like, and for parents, kind of advertise. Oh, it might be good for your like child.
Parents is tough. I don't know if there's I mean, like we haven't fully figured this out yet. From what we've tried, we think social media for parents don't seem to work.
Hmm.
Even like Facebook groups or stuff, they don't work very well because you have to actually get invited into. Parents seem to be, it's sort of like word of mouth tends to be the best. And I think how you get word of mouth maybe is you can try to do things with product-led growth. So make sure that your product, like people are motivated to spread your product as well. Could be something. But yeah, parents are definitely more difficult. Yeah.
Because I was thinking if you try to reach like some high school like students, they don't make this kind of decision if they buy this product or no. So eventually, if they would see some social media post or video, they will probably go to parents and
Yes.
ask them.
Yeah. So like in terms of like high scores, then the direct to consumer selling would be the high score has tried this and they're interested enough. They're like, I really want this, and they tell their parents, can you buy this for me? But then that like to for that process to happen, I think high scores need to be it's a bit of like you have to make sure that they're so interested enough that they have to go tell their parents, and that's an extra step. And so it is harder, but I think that is probably the easiest way to scale.
Good, sure. Can you tell me more about your co-founders and how you meet them?
Okay.
Because I remember
Yeah,
this post that when you posted that you live in Spaceland,
yeah,
probably after it was the next month when you started Crossroad.
yeah.
So relatively this time period wasn't that long when you find them. How did that happen?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, maybe it wasn't long, just most people looking at it. It was very long for me. It was like I don't know what I should do with my life or what am I gonna do right now. I ended up saying like I think I just have to do another startup. Like this is the only thing that I feel genuinely interested in. And who cares if I can't earn money right now? I can at least semi-sustain myself. And so the way that I found my co-founders was feeding off my feedback that I said before, or like advice is I looked at who I already knew pretty
Mhm.
much. I did try things like YC co-founder matching or whatever, but I don't know if that I think it's very hard for that to work. You have to be in the same place, like have similar groups of friends and people. I think that for that to work out. And so I looked at who I already knew. Uh, my current two co-founders, I've known them at the very beginning of the year. So by the time I talked to them about this, like doing a startup together, it's probably I've known them for half a year. And then one of them I knew quite personally. They were like a friend of a friend. And then the other has worked with them before on a previous startup. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, actually, I tried also like combinator matching like the
Yeah.
co-founders, and
Yeah.
it's super hard because I cannot imagine like working for too long, like remotely with a co-founder. I just feel that the energy isn't the same, and to find the right person, you cannot even tell if it will be the right fit when you start to build something
Yeah.
with this person. But at the same time, I heard a lot of stories when like with Cooley. I'm not sure if that's true, but I heard that these two co-founders, Roy and Neil, I think, just met because the first one just asked who want to start a company almost like each person at university. So I'm not sure if that can work. Maybe there is some stories, but in my personal
Well, did they
experience,
go to the same university? Oh, no.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that helps because then you're in the same place. Um, so you're in person, which helps. And then if you're in university together, I think each university has their own group of people. Um, I think that's warm enough.
No, actually I agree, but I should think maybe experiment with it slightly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, what your goals for 2026 with grassroots? Your main like KPI or goals? What you want like this like vision where you want to go? Maybe you have a message to potential investors or future customers
Sure.
who want
Sure.
to
Yeah.
hear.
I think for us, it really is just uh, we're probably more product focused more than anything. And so for us, our goal for 2026 is probably that people see us as a very obvious upgrade or choice between existing learning platforms and ChatGPT. And so like I think people hopefully in the future in 2026 will believe in the fact that this form of personalized learning with AI is always superior and worth it, and is the future direction that tech is going in, and that's what we believe. And so we're just hoping that through our product that they can also see the same vision as us.
Wow, I wish you good luck with that product. Do you have like any last message advice to founders in Midwest who want to maybe start the company and are scared or afraid of to start? What would you recommend for them?
Um, so the Midwest has notoriously not a good reputation, I
Yeah.
think, in the startup space. Uh, I think it also depends on what you want to do. If you're going to build a B2B SaaS company, you should probably go to San Francisco. But if you're like us, you're trying to build something that's direct to consumer, or something that's already good in Chicago, like manufacturing or logistics, then please stay here. But I think in terms of whether or not you should start a company or not, I think you can always begin it as a project. And then as you see your project grows and as you put more time into it, you become more attached, and I think hopefully that can motivate you enough to do it. But I think always it's a learning process. Um,
Honestly,
yeah.
it was like the main reason why I started this podcast to change the things that every startup founders always move either to New York or San Francisco.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And it is why I started this podcast
Yeah.
to create this kind of community and to kind of improve the Chicago and in general Midwest scene
Yeah.
to kind of change it and impact it.
No, yeah, I think maybe if I talk a little bit more about like why like we stayed in Chicago.
Sure.
One is of course we're here, but two is even if you're doing something like education, Chicago has an excellent access to like who our users are. And so, for example, like the suburban school districts versus like the CPS, which is the Chicago public school system, like this, it's a very good mix of like very public school as well as maybe like lower income people. Suburbs, they have very high income schools and lots of private schools as well. I would say like this mix for us has been superior than if we were to go to New York or SF. And so it's been very good. I think many people do like if you want to just raise lots of money and then hype your startup up and then buy out. Honestly, yes, I would encourage you to go to San Francisco. That's probably the best way, right place to do it. I think every city has a different hub in terms of like the types of startups. So I don't think Chicago is the right fit for everyone, but I think most people just write off Chicago like completely. I think that's totally wrong. I think Chicago is great for a various number of startups, but I think you would have to consider that for yourself.
I like it.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of this show, I created the tradition that previous guest always leave to next one, who, of course, you don't know who will be the next guest, the idea, startup idea. And your task now is to read the idea and try to write it and improve it.
Oh, okay, okay. So, hold on.
Basically, it is a startup idea. You can just tell your thought, rate it, and maybe this person who puts this. Actually, I have this Sunny similar to Jenny. I
I see,
put
I
this
see, I see.
idea, and
Well, this is a fun one. I mean, for I don't know if you'll show it up there, but it's an AI agent to help plan your wedding. I don't have personal experience with this. I don't know how, but I think
just be honest. It is the funniest part because when the guest leaves the idea, he didn't know to whom he left, and
yeah,
you can totally have don't know anything about this
yeah,
industry, but still you should improve it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It
Yeah.
is okay.
I think from my understanding of this, I'll give it a 6.
Okay,
Um,
explain why.
because I think uh there's a lot of human conversation, like natureness in planning a wedding. I think having another human manage like the communications could be very helpful. Then again, I do think that wedding, to my knowledge, are very painful to plan. They're huge things, and I think a lot of it could be automated. And so in terms of like the scope and like I don't know the stats, but I think most people do get married at least once in their life, and so your customer base is large. The pain is large. I just don't know if you can fully automate it. So I think so it's like a partial solution. That's
Question.
that's my thought.
Okay, Leland, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. It's awesome. Thank you, man.
Thank you.